Ram Das beautifully touches on the non-dual aspect of loving yourself. How do you love yourself in a non-dual perspective? Watch this amazing, beautiful clip.
Ramdas, how
Yes.
can we love ourselves more, please?
Instead of the term, how can we love ourselves more, I'd like to ask, how can we accept ourselves more? Um, some feelings of unworthiness or inadequacy or something in most human beings as the result of socialization. Very few people ever come through socialization unscathed in some way or other. I mean, that's not an unfair statement, I don't think. So in a way you could see that ego or personality is in a way built upon, and that's where Freud understood it. He saw that the repression of id or impulse life, because of the way the society has to deal with a child's impulses to get it to be socialized, usually is left with a feeling that somehow I'm bad. I have these things that are not acceptable. And so then you build this social structure, and often what you end up with is a personality that's constantly looking to the world and other people. Do you approve of me? Do you like me? Am I good enough? Am I acceptable to you? And have I achieved enough? And you get an A for effort, and you feel good. And if you don't get the A, it's not like you feel nothing, you feel bad. And it's as if the baseline is negative, not zero. Do you hear the issue that I'm talking about? Now, so that you're constantly using your life experiences as a way to disprove a basic negative feeling about yourself. That's a very, very common thing in social structure and in human development.
That is so true. I've always used my life as a reality check, they say, to check that, oh, of course I'm having a bad life. I mean, look around me. I have to pay rent, I have to do this, I have to go to grocery. Of course life is bad, you know what I mean? And I think we get so caught in this illusion of suffering that we use life as a confirmation check that we are suffering. And even the suffering is coming from an attachment to pleasure. There is some sort of idealistic pleasure that we are all seeking, and that contrast is making us look at this moment as suffering. Soon he talks about appreciation, which is like, man, that's the beautiful.
Ego development. Now, so many psychological systems, like Freud's system, for example, works primarily with negative going to zero. That's the domain that you work with. Right behind that is where the spiritual dimension begins, and that's a part that looks at the universe and just sees it as it is. It doesn't see when you've got a negative thing, the opposite. When you're trying to undo it, you could undo it by emphasizing the positive. Like if you don't like yourself, you could emphasize, "I love myself," which is how do we love ourselves more is the question. Or we could say, let's go behind love and hate and find a place where we merely acknowledge ourselves, where we just allow our humanity. And we hear that there is negativity in us, and there is inadequacy, and we allow ourselves. And the word that I have come up with, that I'm finding most comfortable to work with, is the word appreciation. That we come to just appreciate what is. It's interesting, the way I've looked at it is that you go out into the woods and into the forests, and you look at trees and you appreciate the trees. You don't say that tree is good and that tree is bad because one tree is fat and one is thin, or one is tall and one is short, or one is bent and one is straight, unless you're in the lumber business. For the most part, you just look at the trees and you appreciate them the way they are. They are what they are, and you can appreciate them. But the minute you get near humans, it's interesting that you immediately go into a judging mode. You come into better and worse. And you do that out of your own insecurity. You do that out of your own need constantly to be reassuring yourself. So you're saying that person is got more hair than I do, or that person is see, that's the one I picked. So I wonder why that, or you go into you find dimensions constantly judging and equating. Am I as good as? Am I equal to? Am I as good a mother? Am I as beautiful a woman? Am I as effective a worker? Am I whatever it is, whatever dimension? And you get caught in constantly living in a judging realm.
I think that is really the key. I think I think a consequence of living in a dual world like us, where we are defining everything based on contrast, is we start living in a world that is full of judgments. The real question is, what would this world look like without any judgments? And I think that's the place where you can finally appreciate something when there is no judgments. And I think that's why the tree example was so powerful.
And if you start to practice seeing people as trees, I don't mean in the, in the sense of just appreciating what they are, including yourself. It's just starting to appreciate yourself, appreciate your humanity.